word by word meaning. Sri Raja Uvacha, the king said, Narayana Vidhanasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead named Narayan, Brahmanaha, of the Absolute Truth, Paramatmanaha, of the Super Soul, Nishtham, the transcendental situation, Arhatha, you may kindly, Naha, to us, Vaktum, speak, Yuyam, all of you, He, indeed, Brahmavittamaha, the most expert knowers of the Supreme. Translation and purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. King Nimi inquired, please explain to me the transcendental situation of the Supreme Lord Narayan, who is Himself the Absolute Truth and the Super Soul of everyone. You can explain this to me because you are all most expert in transcendental knowledge. Please repeat. King Nimi inquired, please explain to me the transcendental situation of the Supreme Lord Narayan, who is Himself the Absolute Truth and the Super Soul of everyone. You can explain this to me because you are all most expert in transcendental knowledge. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, in the previous verse, the sages informed the king, Narayana Paromayam Anjastarati Dustaram. Simply by unalloyed devotion to Lord Narayan, one can very easily cross over the ocean of material illusion. Therefore, in this verse, the king is requesting specific information about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. It is significant in this verse that the king refers to the Supreme Lord as Narayan, Brahman and Paramatma. Although King Nimi is already understood to be a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his question he wants to clarify that the Personality of Godhead is the highest transcendental truth. In the Bhagavatam 1-11, Vadam tat tattva vidastatvam yatnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. Therefore, it is to be understood that the word Narayan in this verse refers to the Bhagavan feature of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. Generally, the speculative philosophers become attracted to the impersonal Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth, whereas the mystic yogis meditate upon the Paramatma, the Super Soul within everyone's heart. On the other hand, those who have achieved mature transcendental knowledge surrender directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan, who is eternally situated in His own abode called Vaikuntha Dham. In Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna clearly says, Brahmano hi pratisthaham, I am the source of impersonal Brahman. Similarly, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam that the Super Soul Kshirodakshai Vishnu is a secondary plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. King Nimi wants the sages to make clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original feature of the Absolute Truth, and therefore he places his question before the next of the 9 Yogendras, Pipalayana. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the word Nishtha can also be translated as firm faith. In this sense, Nimi Maharaj is inquiring about the process of developing perfect faith in the Supreme Lord, Bhagwan Nishtha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we welcome all of you in Srimad Bhagavatam class. This is the most important part of the morning program, and here we hear about King Nimi. So I was discussing with Prabhu before the class some history about King Nimi, and he gave me a chapter from 9th canto, the dynasty of Nimi. So I was reading it, and Nimi, the whole is a big thing, but the point is Nimi Maharaj was not ready to accept the material body, though given a choice. So he understands that because his spiritual master Vasishtha went to perform yajna for Indra, and then he asked him to wait, but he couldn't wait, and then some offenses were felt, which is quite normal to feel offenses. So they cursed each other, and then somehow demigods wanted him to be given the body back, even though Vasishtha cursed Nimi to be killed, he should give up the body, but he didn't accept the body. So only this much I could read. Then it was 8 o'clock. So we are here. So in the same chapter, the beginning of some verses, we will read that how much Nimi Maharaj was interested and inclined and enthusiastic to hear about the Lord. So this is from 11.3.2, same chapter. And because he's asking questions here, Nimi Maharaj is continuously asking questions. This is what also in the purport it is written, that he was asking these questions for clarification for the future generations. He is himself a wonderful Vaishnava devotee. He understands even in the previous, what we are reading, previous verse, already the devotional service is fully explained until yesterday what we did. That was the second question of the four questions in this chapter. Second is answered, and now the third question is putting today to one of the Navyogendra, who is Pipalayana. But here, this verse describes that although I am drinking the nectar of your statements about the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, my thirst is not yet satiated. So this is a very important quality to beg for from the devotees who have already achieved this stage of not feeling satiated, hearing about Krishna more and more. Because that's very, very important quality to hear about the glories of the Lord. This is what the whole Bhagavatam wants to bring us to the point of hearing the glories of Lord 24 hours a day. Such nectarian description of the Lord and his devotees are the actual medicine for conditioned souls like me, who are tormented by the threefold miseries of material existence. So he is also feeling that he has been tormented by miseries of material existence. Not that he feels that he is some pure devotee who has understood Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understands that everything about devotional service is doing properly. So the point is, as we hear in many, many Vaishnava bhajans also, these acharyas, from their mindset, feel very humble and meek, and they feel that they are very fallen. None of them feel that they are very elevated, exalted devotees. So that's their normal mindset, as we hear from all the Vaishnava bhajans, and also here he's speaking the same pattern. So it's important to go to that understanding that we are fallen conditioned souls. Not that I am an elevated devotee, because when we keep hearing, we somehow go into the mindset that whatever I am hearing is me, I am the devotee which is spoken about, and then it becomes very easy to do offenses. So it's very important to have this understanding that we are conditioned souls, like Nimi is speaking here. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, one may argue that since the symptoms of pure devotee of the Lord have already been elaborately described, one can perfect his life by advancing in the platform mentioned in the previous verse. And there is no need for further questions, So, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We know this is the mantra for the age, and we have heard the devotional service process several times. Whole Bhagavatam is about that. Before to this is actually Narada and Vasudevji discussing about King Nimi's discussion with the Navyogendras. This is how the whole episode is running here in Bhagavatam. But the point to observe is the inquisitiveness of these wonderful Vaishnavas. They just keep asking questions. So this is a very good quality, that even though they have heard about it, it's not that King Nimi doesn't know what he's asking now. That's not the point here. But the point is to bring in the conversation, discussion about the Lord. That's the point. So it's a very important mindset to develop among us devotees, that whenever we meet, we discuss something about Krishna. That should be the point of discussion and meetings. That is called Ishta Goshti, discussing about the Lord. Not that in the Ishta Goshti we discuss something about all the fights going around in the world. So it's very important that we discuss about Krishna, and then we gradually forget all other challenges and we come on the real challenge which we are going through, to give up the false ego, to give up this mindset of being that I am this body. So this will only come when we keep hearing about these wonderful glories of the Lord in association of devotees. So this is what King Nimi is helping us to do. This is what Vasudevji is trying to help us by asking questions to Narada. Vasudeva is not an ordinary personality. He is father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is inquiring about devotional service to Narada. So this is a very important point to understand, that we have to be fully focused on these questions about glories of the Lord, about the pastimes of the Lord, about the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Not that I have heard enough, not that I have understood enough. It is never enough. It is never going to be enough. Always, like when Yashoda Maharani was trying to tie Krishna, the thread was never enough, right? It was always little short. So with that understanding that it is never going to be enough to hear the glories of the Lord, we should always feel unsatiated, and the desire to hear should keep increasing. That is the success of this process of hearing and chanting, that we hanker more for it. The more we get, the more we want. So this is how King Nimi is depicting his quality. But Hari Kathamritam topics about the Lord and his devotees are so pleasing and beautiful that one cannot give up hearing them even after spiritual liberation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this connection has quoted the verse, Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Api Urukrame Kurvanti Yahitukam Bhaktim Ittam Bhuta Guno Hari. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. So even self-satisfied souls or personalities are also attracted to hear about the qualities, wonderful qualities of Sri Krishna. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendental attractive features. Material medicine is not desirable once a disease has been cured. So this is our conditioning. We think that once the problem is solved, we don't need the medicine anymore. But this is not with Hari Katha. Even it solves the problem, but still we feel that I need it more. has been cured. But on the absolute platform, the means and the end are not different. That's the point. So chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord Krishna are both the means and the end of transcendental bliss. So this is a real meditation when we start our day, that I want to get absorbed in Hari Katha, in hearing the glories of the Lord. That is possible by taking this darshan also. Darshan, we can glorify, oh, how wonderful Krishna is holding his flute, how wonderful he is having this robe for the cows, and all whatever we see in the beautiful darshan, we should try to meditate and glorify that. That's very important to be focused on that. And also, this chapter speaks about four questions. So in the first verse, he's talking about, as the chapter speaks, liberation from the illusory energy. So I think it's a struggle for most of us to become free from the illusory energy of the Lord. So here King Nimi is very mercifully asking this question step by step. So he says that in the text 1 of this chapter, King Nimi said, now we wish to learn about the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vishnu, which bewilders even the great mystics. My lords, please speak to us about this subject. So he is begging the Navayogendras to speak about the subject matter and how to get freed from the illusory energy of the Lord. So according to Srila Siddhar Swami in this chapter, various saintly sons of Rishabhadev will speak about the illusory energy, Maya, the means for crossing beyond it, the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of God. So these two parts are covered, means for crossing beyond it and about the illusory energy. These are up to verse number 33. Today we are starting verse number 34. That starts with the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and further will be and prescribed duties of human beings. So these are the four main questions of King Nimi to the Navayogendras. But what we understood till now is that King Nimi himself is a pure devotee of the Lord. He is fully focused on hearing about Krishna's glories. He understands the subject matter well, but as the purport mentions, that he is asking this for clarification, and he is also telling that he is using the word Narayan to describe the Lord. That means he understands that Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the Brahman realization or the Paramatma, but he understands the Bhagwan realization. This is what also spoken in the purport. So there is a verse on this, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. This is a nice subject, though we have heard it many, many times, but as we understand, hearing it again and again helps us to think of Krishna more. So in chapter 14 of Bhagavad-Gita, the verse is mentioned also in the purport, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya yasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya subhyankantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is constitutional position of ultimate happiness and which is immortal, imperishable and eternal. So generally we think that impersonal Brahman is something not connected to Krishna. Only Mayavadis want to merge into that, but that's not complete understanding, because Krishna tells that this impersonal Brahman, I am that. I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. It also originates from Krishna. Purport. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability. This is 14.27. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity and happiness. So this is partial realization of the Lord, but it is not something false. Brahman is also effulgence of the Lord. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the super soul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. So this is what King Nimi is already speaking, so he understands his ultimate realization, and so he speaks the Lord with the name and is asking for more clarification. Therefore, both Paramatma and impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. So it's like you have a $100 note, it includes $10, $20. The smaller notes are included in it. So these are the levels of realization. So Brahman realization is partial, Paramatma is the middle, and perfect realization is Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Therefore, both Paramatma and impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. It is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is a manifestation of the inferior energy of the Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with the fragments of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. When a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of the Supreme. So initially, the conditioned soul is fully engrossed in material life. This just deals with the matter, has no understanding about Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan, nothing. But gradually, when he starts cultivating spiritual knowledge, as is written here, so when he begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and rises up to the Brahman conception of Supreme. This attainment of Brahman conception of life is a first stage of self-realization. So this is also a stage, not that impersonal realization is something false. It is also a stage. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. It's not the end of the journey. Brahman realization is not the end of the journey. If he wants, he can continue to stay in Brahman position and then gradually rise up to Paramatma realization and then to the realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples in the Vedic literature. So here Prabhupada is giving more examples of 4 Kumaras now. The 4 Kumaras were situated first in impersonal Brahman conception of truth. But when they got this smell of the incense from the lotus feet of the Lord, they couldn't relish the process of devotional service, but then gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. So that's the problem. If someone gets stuck at this first stage of realization, which is Brahman realization, then there is a risk of falling down. As we see all over, people start philanthropic organizations. Prabhupada often quotes that. They start hospitals, charitable institutions. So they don't feel that satisfaction by doing that. And because there is nothing to do. It's inactivity actually. It's inactivity, and soul cannot be inactive. Soul wants to be active. So the real process is to be fully active serving Krishna. So this is a risk in this stage of realization, which is partial realization, that we can fall down. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that although a person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going further, with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. So if one doesn't come by cultivating spiritual knowledge, if you don't come to the understanding that the perfection of knowledge is to understand that we have to render devotional service to the Lord, then we always have a risk of falling down. We should be fully convinced, that's the last part of the purport we'll take, that what is that faith, nishtha, which also is spoken in this verse. Bhaktisiddhanta speaks firm faith. Nishtha is defining as firm faith. So how to develop that firm faith? We'll take after we finish this purport. Therefore, in spite of being raised to Brahman platform, there is chance of falling down if one is not engaged in devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, so it's very clear, whenever we see some kind of a deviation or a fall down, means that the devotee is not engaged in devotional service. So Prabhupada gave us a clear process. Morning 4 o'clock to evening 10 o'clock, he says in one class, stay engaged in devotional service. We don't have any other choices. There is no choice. Only one activity, to perform devotional service, to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Nothing else we can think about. Otherwise, that can be another cause of falling down. In the Vedic language, it is also said, Raso Vai Saha. When one understands the personality of God, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. The Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, and the devotee approaches him. There is an exchange of these 6 opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on an almost equal level with the king. And so, eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman or eternity or imperishability is included in devotional service. So that's the point. That Sat, Chit and Anand. So Brahman realization is going up to Sat feature of the Lord, and then Paramatma is Sat and Chit, and then Bhagavan is Sat, Chit and Ananda. So till the time we get that blissfulness or the joy of devotion, we should understand that we are still not fully having that faith that just by remaining engaged in devotional service, I can be happy. Because once we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the cause of all causes, He is the protector, He is the maintainer, He is the enjoyer, He is my best friend, then certainly that desire to surrender should be coming in my heart and mind, and I should be able to convince myself that just rendering devotional service is perfection of life. But when I try to look for more ways and means to satisfy my mind, that means I'm still on a lower realization, or I'm still not fully convinced with the process. So that's the faith part, what we hear in the verse today. So we have some explanation by Srila Prabhupada on that part from different lectures he gave. This is one of the morning walk in Mayapur, March 1, 1976. Prabhupada is speaking, Shraddha. This faith means so strong faith that one will know it perfectly well, that simply by worshipping Krishna, everything is there. That is the beginning of faith. Now he's telling that's the beginning of faith. Just to know this is not that it's the end, it's the beginning of faith. Otherwise, there is no faith. And without faith, there is no beginning. Ado Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha. So if you have got that firm faith, the next stage is to deal with devotees. Then the faith will increase, because by seeing their behavior, your faith will increase. Then Bhajana Kriya. So Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya. So that's the process to develop faith, to strengthen faith, to make it more firm. I don't remember exactly which part of the first canto, but it's Naradji is explaining this, that when we have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we want association of devotees, Sadhu Sangha. We get inspired to take Sadhu Sangha. And what does the Sadhu does? Sadhu inspires us to do Bhajana Kriya. And now we are doing Bhajana Kriya. Also Sadhu Sangha is there. So in this Bhajana Kriya, we develop more faith. Our faith becomes more firm. When we associate with devotees who have more stronger faith in the Lord, our faith also get more nourishment. So that's very important to be very much focused that in all our association, the aspect of Sadhu Sangha is Krishna Katha. So when I meet Prabhu and I discuss something which is not about Krishna, then it doesn't become Sadhu Sangha. It becomes Prajalpa. So it has to be very strongly practiced among us devotees that whenever we meet, we discuss about Krishna. We talk about Krishna. We try to speak whatever we know a little about Krishna and try to inquire like King Nimi is inquiring. Like Arjuna is inquiring these questions. The tendency of asking questions is there, but that should be dovetailed in asking questions about Krishna. Not any other subject matter is not going to help us. So we have to dovetail our tendency to ask questions about Krishna only. And now This is another from Nectar of Instruction, purport. This is, I think, 5th. Nectar of Instruction, verse 5. By rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. So see, this is faith also, that nothing is left to be done now. This confident, firm faith, favorable to discharge of devotional service, is called Shraddha. Shraddha, faith in Krishna, is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. Faith means strong faith. The words of Bhagavad-Gita are authoritative instructions for faithful man, and whatever Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita is to be accepted as it is. So this is also an aspect of firm faith, that I accept all the instructions of Bhagavad-Gita as it is, not trying to manipulate or change to my mind understanding. This was the way Arjuna accepted Bhagavad-Gita. After hearing Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna said, Krishna, sarvam etat ritam manye. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. This is the correct way of understanding Bhagavad-Gita, and this is called Shraddha. It is not that one accepts a portion of Bhagavad-Gita according to his own whimsical interpretation and then rejects another portion. This is not Shraddha. Shraddha means accepting the instructions of Bhagavad-Gita in the totality, especially the last instruction. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. When one becomes completely faithful in regard to this instruction, one's strong faith becomes the basis for advancing in spiritual life. So this is very encouraging, that Shraddha is to follow Bhagavad-Gita. If I can convince and just follow Bhagavad-Gita, that my faith is becoming more and more firm, because Bhagavad-Gita is spoken by Krishna. It's Krishna's words. If I can follow Krishna's instructions, that shows that I have accepted Krishna as my master. I am convinced that I am servant of Krishna, and whatever my masters say, I have to follow. There is no scope of interpretation, changes. There is no scope for that. It's just as it is. I have to accept it. And one more. This is from a lecture given on Bhagavad-Gita, 4.39, Los Angeles. So to understand this fact, that simply by engaging himself into the activities of Krishna consciousness, everything is completely done, this is called faith. So this is important for us, because we are trying to remain engaged in activities of Krishna consciousness. So we should be convinced that now I don't have to make any other arrangement. I should not think that I have something more to be done. It's not required, to be honest, as this purports and lectures are speaking about. But the way I am advancing in my consciousness, the more I relate with this instruction. But if I am not convinced with these instructions, so I am busy doing my material activities to make money, to make arrangement for my families, but it is all fixed. Prahlad Maharaj says in Bhagavatam, in 7th canto, in his prayers, that doing anything to change the material situation is simply waste of time and energy. So this human life is simply meant to perform devotional service. That is faith. That is the faith we are trying to understand from these instructions here. That is firm faith. Faith, strong faith, unflinching faith. That is the last instruction of Bhagavad-Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Imagine the level of faith Arjuna showed. He was ready to fight with his family members. Only because Krishna said it, that think of me and fight. So, now Krishna is not asking us to do that. For us, it's basic things to perform devotional service. Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. This is the process of devotional service we have to follow. Just by doing that, following the instructions of spiritual master, coming to the full morning program, trying to do services, and then again evening program. So Srila Prabhupada gave a perfect program to convince our mind to this level that we will be fully convinced, if we are in this process, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is maintaining us, Krishna is the cause of all causes. We will not be able to find any other causes for any challenges we go through. We will understand, okay, Krishna is arranging this. Let me go through this. This is stepping stone in Krishna consciousness, that simply one who is firmly convinced that simply by executing the duties in Krishna consciousness, all other functions will be nicely done. He is convinced that by doing devotional service, all other functions will be nicely done. So one has to understand, it is not to be accepted blindly. It is not forced upon anybody. Therefore, Bhagavad-Gita is there. Try to understand it scrutinizingly with all arguments, and you will find it is sublime. It is sublime. So, it's a nice process that every day when we gather with the devotees, we are trying to discuss about Krishna, we hear about Krishna. During the day also we can read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, and sitting in the kirtan, chanting the holy name. This is a challenge to the mind that we are putting it to Krishna's lotus feet. No, you have to follow this process given by Srila Prabhupada, and that will strengthen our faith in Krishna. This is what we are getting from these different instructions of Prabhupada. And this is the last. This is also a lecture given on 6.47 in Ahmedabad, December 12, 1972. So unless one has got faith, why one should consider himself that I must be completely surrendered to Krishna, unless one has got faith. Therefore, faith is the beginning. And to create faith, Krishna has explained about himself in the whole Bhagavad-Gita. So one who is fortunate after reading Bhagavad-Gita thoroughly, he will have a strong faith in Krishna. If you have failed to achieve the status of faith, then there is no question of progress. That is explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudrida Nischay. Shraddha means firm faith with conviction. Yes, if I surrender to Krishna, then all my business will be perfect, all my spiritual life will be perfect. Therefore, Krishna says, Shraddhavan bhajate, is Shraddha with full faith. Ado Shraddha, beginning is Shraddha. If one has developed a little Shraddha, just like we are giving chance throughout the whole world by this propaganda, opening centers to create little Shraddha. So that's the wonderful contribution of Srila Prabhupada to this humanity, that is created centers to create Shraddha, to create faith in Krishna, because all these centers are fully equipped with all the facilities to reach to the stage of firm faith where a soul can get convinced that Krishna is the cause of all causes, Krishna is the ultimate shelter, and I don't have to do anything but render devotional service to Krishna. So we'll end here. Thank you all very much. Any comments or questions?
Krishna, Prabhu, thank you very much. Nice katha. So, for the development of firm faith, strong faith, what is the meaning of Sarva Dharman Pratyaja?
As I understand from this instruction, Sarva Dharman Parityaja is following the instructions of spiritual master and given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's not very complicated. Nothing from the mind, only from Guru and Krishna. That's surrender. Yes, there. Okay, here.
Hare Krishna Guru, you said that impersonalism is not wrong. Impersonalism is correct, not question.
Sorry?
It's a correct, not a question. Impersonalism, when it is come from Sen Kumar, Charas Kumar, like that, they doesn't end with God. But impersonalism particularly envious of God.
I'm good.
No. What he's saying about these people. So impulses is particularly dangerous, and these people who follow impulses is a snake with soft practice.
Yes.
So we must very, very brotherly, like one is being cobra. We must treat him like just like he is a cobra. And learn from him. Even he is studying all Bhagavad and whatever things he is using. So starts. Krishna tells everything that yes, first realization from and like that. This is when the age is something like that. When we have enough time to waste and then reach to Krishna. But even in those days and in this particular age, simply explained, very beautifully explained and wonderfully explained, classic explained, that simply just follow Prabhupada from 4 years to 10 years and you will back to God.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. What is the perfect or ideal way of controlling the senses, meaning thereby, is it just food or does it include anything else?
I think Mahamantra is the best way to control the mind. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I think that's the most effective way.
So, are we supposed to do it like any time our senses are going haywire? So we are supposed to start chanting.
Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Not that we have to start chanting, we don't have to stop chanting. That's the point. Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.